Hello everyone, Stormy One here. Today we got a strong storm system expected to bring some high winds, some potentially strong storms, and some snow starting tomorrow and into Wednesday, maybe even to early parts of Thursday. And then there's another system we're watching this upcoming weekend. So we're going to start with the watch warning advisory display across the country. Pretty active out there. We got a lot of wind alerts across the lower Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, good chunk of the deep south, really a large chunk of the plains in here with those wind alerts. And this system here coming up tomorrow and into Wednesdays can be quite a wind maker across the central part of the country here. We even got blizzard warnings for parts of Nebraska back down towards Colorado. Northwestern Kansas is another area of blizzard warnings for parts of southeastern Nebraska, southwestern Iowa, and northwestern Missouri out there. There's also going to be wildfire issues probably for parts of Texas and back down towards New Mexico out there. So a lot of stuff's going to be happening with this system here. And here's a closer look, for Kentucky here. That wind advisory in the tan color really includes the good chunk of the Bluegrass region and points west. It includes Lexington, Louisville, even goes down on I-75 to Williamsburg, and all of western Kentucky as well, including that wind advisory. You could argue one more area could be included in the wind advisory, especially farther up north. I think that will change tomorrow, though. I can see some more counties being included in wind advisory, especially for the second round of wind that would happen on Wednesday. Let's look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook. This is for today, getting enhanced risk for severe weather for parts of Oklahoma down to northern Texas. There is a 10% tornado risk out there, pretty elevated risk out there that, from Oklahoma City down through Lawton and into Wichita Falls, Texas. Damage winds is also there. You got a 30% chance for some damage and winds. There could be some large hail out there as well. And storms will first be more supercellular, but quickly transitions into a squall line later this evening into tonight. Then tomorrow, the severe weather risk is focused farther to the east, getting enhanced risk from southeastern Oklahoma, northeastern Texas, through the southern half of Arkansas, large chunk of Louisiana and Mississippi into southwestern Alabama. There is a 10% tornado risk out there, even a hatched area for tornadoes, and that hatched area indicates the potential for strong tornadoes, which is tornadoes that could be EF2 or greater. Damage and winds is also there. You can also see there's also a hatched area for winds. Those are winds that may exceed 75 miles an hour. Hail, not really going to be a big issue on this setup here. Normally with very strong low level shear, you really don't get a lot of hail, so it's mainly a damage, wind, and tornado risk, especially off to our south and west. There is a March risk that does include parts of south central Kentucky into western Kentucky. And that's for the potential for some strong storms that can come through tomorrow evening. And then on day 3, which is Wednesday, severe weather risk is focused farther to the east. Got a March risk for far eastern Kentucky, but we do have a slight risk that extends from parts of the mid-Atlantic region down into the Carolinas and southeastern Georgia. And the main hazard of those would be damage of winds and some quick spin of tornadoes out there. So let's check out the high-res NAM model here. So we're going to be pretty quiet through tonight. Clouds will increase here, so temperatures will be milder tonight compared to what we've been the last couple mornings. Of course, these last couple mornings have been pretty cold. And as we go to Tuesday morning here, we're going to have some cloud cover still out there. But the winds are going to start to pick up, and the winds will get stronger as the day goes on. And you can see these black lines here. Those are isobar lines, and the closer those lines are together, the stronger the winds. And you can see here, so you get into Tuesday afternoon, you get some strong wind gusts out of the south and western Kentucky. Winds are calmer in eastern Kentucky. But you can see this line here of storms that stretches from the Boot Hill, Missouri, down into Mississippi. And the great severe weather risk is where the Storm Prediction Center has it. And I do agree with the enhanced risk placement on that, by the way. Then we have this 981 millibar low moving from out of southeastern Kansas, moving into northern Missouri. And you're going to see that low pressure system continue to strengthen as the evening goes on. We still have this, this line here of some showers, maybe even a couple of storms. And these here have potential to be on the strong side. And the main hazard with these would just be strong winds. I'm not concerned about the tornado risk because of the lack of surface-based instability. So I'm not expecting tornadoes for this setup here. You can see how that line there kind of falls apart as it moves farther off to the east, but there could still be some strong storms possibly, especially down towards the Cub Run Lake area as you get into Tuesday night. And there may be a potential round of some showers, maybe even a couple thunderstorms trying to mix in here. Perhaps late Wednesday morning into the early afternoon. Potential with that there is pretty low. Some malls got some instability to work with, others don't. We can get a sounding from the high-risk NAM real quick to see if it shows any instability, and it actually shows basically nothing out there. But you can see here, as that front passes through, those winds will begin to gust again, and as it does so, behind that front is a good hit of some snow out there. Could be moderate at times out there. So we basically go from the potential for strong storms, Tuesday evening to Tuesday night, and then by Wednesday evening into Wednesday night, we go over to snow in just about a 24-hour period. So we basically go from spring to winter in a 24-hour period. Let's check out the HRRR model. It's another short-range model that we look at here, and it's pretty similar to this here, but not as organized with that line as compared to the high-risk NAM. That's probably because of the better coverage of those showers out ahead of it, but you still see that little line here that may extend maybe as far north as Louisville, down towards the Tennessee border, but that line has potential probably marginally severe down in the middle of Tennessee there. You can see how that line there persists as it continues off to the east. Once again, a pretty powerful low here that is out there. And it doesn't go far out enough to see that snow potential there. But you can see what I was talking about there. There could be that potential for some pretty gusty showers, maybe a couple of storms, maybe somewhere along that front late Wednesday morning into the early afternoon. They could be on the strong side as well. Could produce some strong wind gusts out there. Those will maybe be ones to watch, but I think potential of those may be a little bit lower. But we can check out and see if there's any instability out ahead of us real quick. And you can see there's a little bit more compared to high-risk NAM, but still not much out there to really work with for strong storms. But we'll keep an eye on that. See if anything changes with that. But let's kind of go back a little bit and let's talk about Tuesday evening here. So out ahead of this main line here, we're going to deal with some widespread showers out there that could be gusty at times. And the main part of Tuesday evening, you'll notice that the winds are going to be quite strong out of the south. And there will likely be some 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts out there. I think a lot of us can certainly see 40 plus mile per hour winds, but there is potential for wind gusts that may try to exceed 50 miles an hour, and that's the part I want to talk about here. And it really all depends on how much dry air that we're going to have here. So if I look at the HRRR here, if I get a sounding out here, so let's say if I get a sounding out here in the Lake Cumberland area, and I want to show you guys something here, and I want you guys to focus on this skew T that's out here. So let's focus on what's going on over here. So what we got going on here is that, of course, there's no instability, but there will be an inversion that is going to be right here, and that's where the base of your showers and storms are going to be right around 700 millibars. So the base is going to be very high, and that's the main reason why we won't see tornadoes, is because the base is so high. Plus, you don't have any surface-based instability, so no tornado threat with this. However, beneath that inversion, where you have this gap here with the green and the red line here, your green line is the dew point line and the red line is the temperature line. Anytime you have a gap in between here, that is the indication of a dry air. And when we talk about wind gradient events, those are the things we got to look for those potential stronger wind gusts. Because with drier air in place, it makes it easier for those winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, especially towards, the low jet region, which is in here, approximately in there. That's a terrible circle. Let me do a little bit better. So like right there, that's generally where your low jet's going to be. It makes things a little bit easier for those winds at those type of levels to mix down closer to the surface. And when that happens, you get stronger wind gusts out there. Now, the low jet can be screaming. You're talking about low jet winds, generally 70 to upwards of 85 knots. Those are very strong winds up there. And with that dry air mixing out there, that's going to create the potential for stronger wind gusts at the surface. So this is one of those things we really got to pay close attention to, because if we end up getting more dry air mixing than anticipated, then there's likely that opportunity for some 55 mile-an-hour wind gusts. And you'll see some of the models here try to push 60 miles an hour, but most of the time that tends to be overdone because of the amount of moisture that we have in the atmosphere. But in this case here, we got some dry air mixing going on here, and that kind of elevates that potential for stronger wind gradient winds. And if we were to look at a high-res NAM here and get a sounding out ahead of that line as well, you'll be able to see a similar story here. Well, not really particularly out of the sounding here. There is some instability out there, some elevated instability, right in here. And that can create a few rumbles of thunder out there. On this particular sounding here, there's more moisture in the lower levels, which makes it a little more difficult for the winds to mix down. If I can find a better sounding here, pretty sure I can here. If we go generally in the same area, the Cumberland Plateau area, here you go. You can see a pretty similar situation here where the inversion is probably going to be somewhere in here. Below that inversion, you got dry air mixing in. So this is one of those things we really got to pay close attention to as well. Especially tomorrow here, we got to pay close attention to trends on this, because if we end up getting more dry air mixing than expected, then the wind gusts could potentially be stronger out ahead of that line. And you can tell here by the wind shear parameters here. Your hodograph up here, I mean, that's a ridiculous hodograph profile right there. It also tells you that some of these storms are going to be moving very quickly as well. Some of these showers are going to be fast moving as well. But you can see how huge this hodograph curvature is. It's a very good thing we don't have instability. If we have surface-based instability, we'll be talking about tornadoes and damaging winds. So luckily we don't. I mean, also check out these wind shear values down here. SRH values, 828, 1100. I mean, that is some ridiculously high wind shear parameters up there. And it's not numbers you see very often in the warm sector right there. So that kind of tells you of how much wind energy that we have with the system here. And really, any amount of dry air can help increase that wind gradient threat. So generally my idea is that wind gusts would be 40 to 50 miles an hour, but there is that chance for 50, 55 mile an hour gusts out there. We can look at some of the models here for wind gust potential, and I understand that it is in knots, but like I said earlier, models like to be a little bit of an overkill on wind gusts, especially during this time of night or day. So we're going to pretend this is in miles an hour instead of knots. because that's going to be closer to being accurate. So here's the high-res NAM here. So we're going to pretend these numbers here are miles an hour instead of knots, because that's just more accurate. So here's your line right here. So this is going to be where your line is going to be. Out ahead of that line is where you're going to see those stronger wind gusts. And you can see here those wind gusts are generally 40 to 50 miles an hour. But you can see as it kind of approaches central Kentucky, especially between I-65 and I-75, there is that potential for 50 plus mile an hour winds. And you can see high-res NAM does suggest potential for wind gusts maybe pushing 60, and that may still be a little bit overdone. But if we can get more dry air mixing in there than what the soundings are showing right now, then that could be doable. So we gotta really have to wait and see how much dry air we're going to have with this here, because that's going to really determine how strong these winds are going to be out there. And you can see the winds will probably weaken some as it gets east of I-75, but those winds can still be quite strong out there. And here comes that next round of wind here. And the high-res NAM's not that impressed with the second round of wind, but the HRRR model kind of says a different story about the second round. But here's the HRRR, and usually the HRRR does a better job on wind gusts compared to high-res NAM. It tends to be more conservative. But we'll probably do the same thing again, pretend that this is in miles an hour and not in knots. You can see in western Kentucky here, you do have some 40 to 45 mile an hour gusts. But as you get down towards the Cumberland area, there is that potential for 50 to 55 mile an hour gusts. In the modeling, has really been targeting this area in here for the greatest potential for those 50 to 55 mile an hour gusts. The area I've circled in black here. So really from about the Lexington area down towards the Cumberland Lake area and down towards, parts of the Cumberland Plateau in Middle Tennessee is the area we really got to watch for those potential overachieving winds out there. That's where the Lova jet will reach its max intensity out there. And if we get any dry air mixing, can help increase those winds. So that'd be the area to monitor. And here comes that next round of wind here, which, by the way, the winds behind that line will definitely be much calmer. It will be below wind advisory criteria, which, if you don't know what wind advisory criteria is, that's 40 plus mile per hour winds. Will likely be below wind advisory criteria for several hours, but then when this next front comes through here, this cold front that comes through here, the winds will pick back up again. And you can see here these wind gusts that could generally be 35 to 45 miles an hour out there. So we got two rounds for the potential for 40 plus mile per hour winds. First round Tuesday evening, second round late Wednesday morning into the afternoon hours. So those, so that'll be something we'll be watching for. And then kind of moving on to the snow potential here. We'll go back to the high-res NAM here. For the snow potential here, because not only we could be dealing with some snow, but the winds can still be gusty as well. And there is that chance that for some heavier snow bands in here or snow squalls trying to be mixed in here, and especially with that strong northwesterly wind flow, there could be some pretty decent bursts of snow. Could there be some light accumulations, which is probably going to be what most people are going to be asking. The potential for accumulations is low. But if you do end up getting some accumulation, it would be minor. I would say probably about half an inch at best. It might be a little bit of a different story in eastern Kentucky, which normally on these northwest flow setups like these, eastern Kentucky tends to do better than the rest of the state. So eastern Kentucky might be a little bit more impactful than the rest of the state. But right now, I think it's a little bit too early to talk about snowfall numbers right now. I'm still waiting for the other model, like the HRRR, to get in range. So we'll see. But right now, I think if we do see light accumulations, it's not going to amount to much. And road impacts won't be huge or anything. But the winds will definitely be gusty. So the road conditions may not be the greatest out there. Where you got snow and, 30-mile-an-hour winds, it's not going to be the best. Plus, on top of that, if we look at temperatures here, temperatures generally stay around freezing. Now, temperatures will probably get colder as the night goes on, but early on with the snow, the temperatures are generally going to be kind of around the freezing mark here. Maybe even above freezing for several places out there. And that makes things a little more difficult for snow to accumulate. Plus, the ground temperatures will be pretty warm, and to really overcome those warm ground temperatures, you need some pretty good snowfall rates. So, moderate snow can probably overcome that a little bit, which is why confidence is. And let me backtrack a little bit. So, with the marginally cold temperatures and the warm ground temperatures, confidence is low on how much snow we could see out of this. Then again, I think light accumulations are possible, but I don't think everybody will see them out there, especially for as marginally cold the temperatures could be. But those overpasses, probably got to keep an eye on those, because if we do stay below freezing for a decent amount of time, there could be some slick spots on those overpasses. Overpasses get colder much quicker than asphalt temperatures on the roads out there. So after that system passes through here, temperatures are going to be chilly for your Thursday here. Probably 40s for highs. Friday's not a bad day overall. Highs will probably get into the 50s, maybe be stuck in the 40s in far northern Kentucky, but most of the state would be 50s for highs on Friday. It'll be dry as well. Clouds will increase here. Now, GFS shows a weak system rolling through Friday night into Saturday morning. Could bring some rain showers. If we were to check out the European model, you can see it's a little bit farther south with that low there. And it's not going to be a very strong low by any means, but it can be strong enough to produce some showers out there Friday night into Saturday morning. But there's another system comes right behind that, and we'll go back to the GFS here. So Saturday morning here, there's going to be another system here off to our west, and move across probably Oklahoma and Texas. And you can see here the system arrives here later today on Saturday and the Saturday night as a pretty strong surface low. A 988 millibar low, northeastern Tennessee. That's a pretty strong low to have. And you can see some snow is breaking out on the northern and western side of the low out there. And you can see as that low moves off to the northeast, it does give Kentucky some snow out there for Saturday night and into Sunday morning out there. Now, that's just one model, one solution. What does the other model say? The European model. Much farther south, and basically gives us nothing. So I've been keeping an eye on the system for the last several days, and I'll tell you, models have been very inconsistent. Some models have been farther north, some models have been farther south, others been shifting around from run to run. There just really hasn't been much consistency, which leads to very low confidence, and we still don't have a good agreement at this range. There's some models that does show us getting some snow potential. Others is basically a no-show. I'll show you guys the ensembles here for that same storm. And you can see here the European ensembles is just like the European model, keeps the low track down across southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, which will give Kentucky basically nothing Saturday night and into Sunday morning. However, if you were to go to the GFS, or the GFS ensembles, you can see here it's a more amplified system. It's farther north, it's a stronger surface low. That can give us something out there. And if we were to look at the GFS ensembles with the probability for at least an inch of snow using the 10-1 ratio, you can see some pretty elevated probabilities out there. So you got the American models that likes to give the idea of Kentucky to get some snow, but the European models shows us nothing. So there's not a very good agreement. It's way too early to lean towards a certain scenario, but it is possible that there could be an impactful system. But right now, confidence is very low, and we probably won't have a very good idea on this probably until after the system tomorrow night passes through completely, which will probably be on Thursday. And hopefully we could get a better agreement here to get a better idea right on this. But right now, I'm just not going to hone on any scenario. There will be a storm. Either way, there will be a storm system, but the track and the intensity is highly uncertain. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys liked this video, hit the like button. If you really like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys get any questions, you can put a comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.